Electronic sports, aka esports, aka I haven't seen the sun in 3 days, aka I'm copying Nakey Jakey, but time moves along and that video was years old now, but I remember when it came out and my knees hurt now. Esports is a growing industry and ding ding ding, so is virtual reality. So as the professional bozo of the scene, what happens when you merge the two? VR and esports are a goddamn match made in heaven. If you're developing an FPS game, the first thing people are asking is, how does this apply to esports? Because just like Mormons in the adult film industry, all the money revolves around virgins. Stay with me now. With major VR games like Pavlov, Veil, and Breachers, the VR esports scene is a goddamn juggernaut, and not a lot of people realize that. So on today's episode of Suck Nuts VR, we're learning about the inner workings of the VR esports industry and tips on how to never get laid. Step 1. Own a Meta Quest 3. What's up, virgins? My name is Dequarius the Third VR, and I'm here to tell you that Viewie's Hot Gamer Club is free to join to talk to myself and other gamers alike. And for only $5 a month, not only do you support my chronic caffeine addiction, but you also gain access to the super secret Patreon chat and gamer events hosted by me, and me only, when I'm not at work because I don't have money. Anyways, Grandma, I'm gonna get back in the metaverse so Mark Zuckerberg doesn't delete my game library. Join the Discord and Patreon to help preserve wildlife or something. Now, whoa there, Viewie, master of all things about the risk of feeling dumb by 21 Pilots. I don't know jack shit about the VR esports industry. Where do I get started? Alright, Clancy, listen up, buddy. No more 21 Pilots references. It's a good album. Sorry, Dad. VR esports is generally defined by whatever FPS game is the most popular. We're only going to talk about games that have actually had tournaments mainly hosted by the VR Master League, or for short, VRML. The VR Master League, or just to reiterate, VRML, is generally where all VR esports take place. Think Pavlov, Onward, Veil, and my personal favorite, Breachers. Virgins Reunite Maternal Lovers, or to check back in, VRML for short, was founded back in 2017, or when VR was still this little tiny section of gaming, even tinier than it is now, but those wacky statistics aren't the point of this video. Using the Wayback Machine, I found out that the first game they had a tournament for was Onward, a game I have not played. Pavlov was the second game they would go on to have tournaments for. This would be the first game I've actually played, but a tournament is nothing without the prize. So what was the first prize they gave out alongside the Onward tournament? Was it money, glory, losing your virginity? Limited edition golden pro tube gun stocks for VR, so you can really secure that virginity. Look, if you brought back a girl to your parents' place and she sees your limited edition golden gun stock for your VR headset, unless she's got an Adam's apple, she's leaving. Sorry, buddy. Plenty of people still have it at 35, but look, listen, stay with me now. Well, what about Pavlov? This little rinky dinky stinky spin on it right until its pinky game where a lot of VR had its initial popularity. Surely there was some sort of cash prize or something to cement yourself in the VR industry, but combo, pro tubes and VR covers. Use code Viewie for 10% off. For the first few years, VR esports was more or less a fun side hobby that most people either couldn't get into or purely didn't give a shit about. Realistically, because of the space at the time, there wasn't really any sort of growth within VR esports. Basically, jack shit happened when VR was first popping off, and also there isn't a Wikipedia article on this stuff, so if I missed out on any sort of big moments like a virgin taking a shower, I missed it, my fault. But now,
is he good enough to pull this off? This is match point for Vortex.
There it is!
Vortex takes map number 3, and they are your Miami champion.
we're talking Pavlov, we're talking Onward, we're talking Breachers, Veil, X8, and more. And by more, I mean Snapshot, but I didn't play that game, so we're going to skip past that. I don't know enough about it to, so in respect to this video, sorry, Snapshot, I don't fight. July 20th through the 21st, VRML is hosting their 2024 tournaments with major sponsor of HyperX, which a lot of people don't know is owned by HP. And look, HP, I haven't had the greatest relationships with your products before, but if you want to fix that, send me the Omen Transcend with 32 gigs of RAM, and we'll just email me. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of different games to talk about, a lot of different prizes, lots of different versions. Finally taking a shower. Strap in, boys. It's about to get, as Tony Boyo would say it, freaky. First things first. Pavlov in recent years has kind of fell off. Big L stinky. So with that being said, sorry, bozo, you don't get good prizes. You must be this tall to rob. The last tournament was held virtually as far as I could tell, and the big cash prize was a whopping $275, with the second and third place getting, you guessed it, golden pro tube. I'm kidding. They got money too, $150 and $75 for second and third place respectively. Whoa there, buddy. Slow your roll. I take my poundings nice and slow. That was just for the dentistry patients of the EU. That's right, ladies. We're international now. North American Pavlov tournaments had teams like Jabberwocky versus Dream Team for the bronze final and Mages versus Downfall for the grand final. And what were the prizes, you may ask? Cash Money, an autograph of the only picture of Dave Vills. Womp womp. HyperX said, sorry, Bozo, you spent grinding a VR game all this time? Take this headset we were going to put on clearance anyways. Talk to me when the Quest 2 is popular again. Well, what about Onward, the mill sim that nobody plays anymore? Well, VRML decided let's announce a tournament, but not put anything about the results afterwards, making it that much harder for nerds like me to make videos about it, and also not worth continue looking into. So moving on. Well, what about the new guys? What about Breachers? That game is actually fun. How about that one? Breachers is actually doing really well in the esports scene. We have both the EU and North American teams, sponsors like HyperX and ProTube, and even Triangle Factory, the developers themselves. Hi, how are you guys? They've commented on my videos. We're pen pals, actually. HyperX, I'm still waiting on that lap. The top finalists for the Breachers tournament got a top prize of $1,900, which A, doesn't seem like a lot compared to what Valve just gave away at their latest tournament, and B, is actually pretty good considering this is just a VR game we're talking about. Everybody, round of applause for Breachers for making a good game and still being relevant in the VR esports scene. Anyways, Vale, the best VR shooter, is dying. Game marketed specifically towards esports genre. How's our buddy Vale doing? Well, they're currently on season 2 of their tournaments, and the prize for that wasn't on the VRML website, so I'm sure it's out there, but I'm not looking for it. Season 1, however, during Season 1, the Colgadians received a prize pool of $2,000 for first place and $800 for second place. Not to shy away from the I live and die by fucking Walmart team, who received $5,000 for first place and $2,200 for second place. Plus, both teams would receive HyperX headsets as well. This will be hosted in Denver, Colorado. Shout out my fucking fellow Rocky Mountain brother. Now I hear you say, why the fuck does any of this matter? Why should I give a shit if someone makes rent this month by headshotting a 12-year-old instead of getting a real job? Side note, I know I've been ragging on these players a lot in this video. It's all jokes. Please don't clip my toenail. If you're to gather any of the information I just said about any of this regurgitated nonsense, it's that VR is not dead. I feel like a lot of gamers outside of the VR scene like to think that VR makes up this little tiny niche corner of gaming, and it does. But there is a community here. It's like Horton Hears a Who, where Horton is the mass majority of gamers, and the VR scene is Whoville, which I just realized is the same name as the Grinch Who Stole Christmas or whatever the fuck. Learning things with Viewie. See you guys next week, where we'll be discussing finances and how to evade the IRS.
My name is Walter White. I live at 308 Next.
As some of you may know, I tried to distance myself from the VR scene a little bit recently by being Carter PC's. Look, I didn't say it was a good idea. It was just an idea. But after playing some of the VR games I actually enjoy, rather than just the ones I get good views on, I'm starting to appreciate the genre of gaming a little bit more. And this video was to showcase that there is big backings behind VR and a strong community of players that will participate in events like normal gaming. Thank you to our Mega Rich patrons, Master of the Queef, Funlol55, Retro, and Wes. I actually had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it too. Again, I'm probably just gonna make videos on subjects I actually give a shit about, rather than just games that got like a fucking Thomas the Tank Engine update. Now I gotta spend $20 on Train DLC just to have a shot at competing. First VR studio to add Thomas the Tank Engine DLC gets free promotion. Who wants it?